I started kind of learning about him. Like, if you just Google his name, you can find the Texas State Historical Association piece. It's almost like a Wikipedia that talked about the store, and that's what kind of really intrigued me to want to know more. Like, oh my gosh, he had a general store. And of course, as I come through Refugio all the time, making my way to Corpus, I was always like, where was the store, and could I find it, and what did it look like, and what did they sell, and were they successful? I never could find exactly where that store was and everything, but in some further research, it turns out that the ledgers for that store are in the archive building in San Antonio, the Texas A&M archive building downtown. And my brother Ross and I went one time and did a little family history jaunt through there, and I was able to go up into the research department, and they pulled all of this out of archives for me. So I was able to hold these huge ledgers that were 150 years old, and they had several of them, and it was very interesting because back then they wrote everything down, the person they sold to, and you could see, oh, they bought molasses, or they bought a broom, or they bought flour and sugar. And so it started to develop a picture for me of all what they sold. And also he would give loans out of the bank, out of the store, and issue a lot of credit. So again, I think the store connection in Refugio was really, really cool, and that I got to see those books. The venture proved successful, and in a short time, they established another store at St. Mary's, conducting both successfully. In a few years, they accumulated sufficient capital to invest in land and cattle. And again, I just want to pause a moment and emphasize how important this piece is on the second store they opened in the town of St. Mary's. A lot of people don't know about the town of St. Mary's, which was right here in your back door. If you think of Bayside, St. Mary's was a mile or two down the road. And because of Copano Bay and all the waters in that area, the visionaries and promoters of the area, and a business partner, before he was partners with T.P. McCampbell, Prior Lee, he also had visions of what could happen if we could get ships and schooners and whatnot to come into these areas to bring goods and export goods. So in the late 1800s, around 1860 and on, St. Mary's really started taking off. At one point, they had over 7,000 people in that town, and hotels went up, and saloons and general stores. The huge thing that they were selling was lumber. And so schooners started coming into that Bay area, wharfs were built. T.P. McCampbell and his brother, being visionaries and entrepreneurs, saw the opportunity. So they too jumped on that bandwagon and built a store and started exporting. The main focus there was lumber, and I'm not sure all what else they sold. And then what was real common back then was to have ox carts that would transport goods to Indianola and San Antonio and Goliad and Refugio. And they, in this book, Texas Forgotten Ports, there's a wonderful section in here about T.P. McCampbell and his brother, and the whole town of St. Mary's. And it does a wonderful job of explaining about that town. And I think those guys saw the business opportunity and they went for it. And at one point they had there was probably only 3 that had the top lumber importing and exporting businesses in that store. Why does that store not exist anymore? It's a lot of reasons. The Civil War broke out, and there was also several hurricanes in the store. It just kind of it was hanging on by a thread. Wharfs were destroyed.